What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a very special episode of the Littleroot Record. I'm Ro, and I'm joined by our very special guest, Tony T, and the T stands for Totally Excited to talk about VGC18. How's it going, Tony?
Hello. I'm doing okay. I am excited to talk about one of our earliest metagames where we see all these terrains, all these mega evolutions, and so much fun stuff that we haven't seen in forever, but might be coming back in ZA.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why we want to talk about VGC18, a couple weeks ago, I mentioned, or a week and a half ago or so, I mentioned on the pod with CJ and Calvin. We talked about other formats that to play if you don't want to be playing Regulation I during the break. If you don't have a local event or you aren't making worlds, or you don't want to grind VR. There's still other ways to play the game before we learn the new format on August 1st. And right now, Pokemon Showdown, their Ruins of Alph format is VGC18. This is looked back at as one of the most diverse formats. There is a lot in this format. It was the National Dex format of Generation 7. And Tony was playing back then. I was not, but I was glad he was an active player. He was in Masters at the point. So he actually got to play with a lot of these teams, got to use these Mega Evolutions, the Z moves, the Tapus, the Ultra Beasts, all that fun stuff. And we just wanted to do a little dive in on the episode. If you were thinking of trying to play this Ruins of Alph format for the month that we have it, gave you yourself a nice starting point, especially if you just joined playing in Gen 8 or especially Gen 9, going from playing with having Terra or having Dynamax to having neither, and instead of having to deal with two different mechanics at the same time, it's a lot different.
Yeah, it's like having balancing three different things with mega evolution, terrain, and Z moves. That was initially hard. Going into 2017, we didn't have access to the mega evolutions yet because those were just part of the game, but we couldn't use them. But in 2018, when they announced, oh hey, at the start of the season, I think it's January was when it took off. January was the changing point where they're like, hey, you can use these now, have fun. It's NatDex format also, so you can pretty much do whatever you want. Okay, go do that. And this is also the period in time where you had unnerfed terrain. So in the new days, terrain is 1.2, 1.3, but back then it was 1.5, which is scary. And a lot of mega evolutions actually took a hold of that. Obviously, with electric terrain, stuff like Mega Manectric ran wild, but not in the sense that you would think it would. Mega Manectric was mostly focused on the balance aspect of other teams. Same with Mega Gengar, with Shadow Tag and Parasong. But the weird thing is, it's oh hey, you have a Tapu Lele, and you also have a Mega Metagross. So balancing terrain and also Mega Evolutions while creating the synergistic team, I want to say team is a horrible word for it, but I guess it fits. It's hard to balance if you haven't used them before. And going into this, I have played throughout 2014 through 2016, and it gave me the experience to actually use the Mega Evolutions before. A few of them got nerfed, like Mega Salamence. I think a few lost some
Mega Kangaskhan was
BST
nerfed.
points. Exactly, that parental bond ability was no longer as potent as it was. But players who had that experience versus players who haven't, it was definitely a bit more of a mountain to climb. But honestly, just having fun in this format it's incredible because you have so many different mechanics. You have Z moves, terrain, all that stuff, and obviously mega evolutions are not in Scarlet and Violet, so it's pretty easy to just hop into a game and see, oh wow, I don't have the same mega Pokemon as that, and that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things, with you mentioning the terrain pretty much being 4 other different types of weather boosts. Weather was still in the format as well. Politoed, Tyranitar, and Mega Charizard Y were all very potent Pokemon. And I believe Politoed made finals at Worlds in
I
2018.
think it did.
It's either
I'm gonna check on that. Yes, Amelia Forbes' team with Scarf, Tapu Bulu, and Mega Gengar.
Yeah. So there are a lot of different ways to play it, and I think going into this, let's go at least talk about maybe some of the other differences. Not just like with megas, because I think the idea, at least the way I look at it as someone who didn't play during megas, but have played in these single restricted formats, the way teams are built or at least categorized are a lot of times around the mega evolution, where you would have your one mega. Sometimes you would have like a double mega team, where it's like you would have a Pokemon that could work without its item and without having to Mega Evolve, but then could Mega Evolve if needed, depending on the matchup. An example Pokemon I know that would do that is Venusaur. But, like, am I off on it, where it was, when you were building, it was the Mega first, and then the team fell? Or you would be building your core and would be like, hey, let's build with the normal Pokemon first, and the Mega comes after?
So the way that my friends and I tried to focus on it first was obviously finding the good stuffs. Having more of a like balanced comp, like Tapu Fini, Incin, Kartana, like a part of that AFK core. That was obviously still incredible in 2018. So like obviously Incin took the role of just like this defensive pivot that you can help Tapu Fini with. Obviously, you can't get spored, so a lot of things just are immune to Amoonguss at that time. But we tried to focus more on like the actual core of it and what we wanted the team to do. And then afterwards, we'd be like, oh, okay, what mega evolution can we fit here? Like, can we put Mega Gengar in this slot, or can we put Mega Manectric in this slot? What we kind of ended up on was this like streamline option of okay, core first, Mega Evolution, then Z move. Obviously, like you really want a Z move.
Okay.
I think Z moves are they're just important. Obviously, it hits through Protect. It's a nuke. You obviously want it on like a pretty offensive Pokemon, like something like Lando or Titar, or just anything else that can hit hard. But yeah, it's more of a process where you want to find something that you want first and that you can play with, and then you go on to this portion where it's like, okay, I can fit this Mega Evolution here, and like I'll test how it goes. And if this doesn't work, then I'll swap off to this Mega Evolution.
Okay, now with you bringing up Z moves, that's the other thing that I was really curious about. Because like Z moves are just Mega Evolution. I feel like it's a little more straightforward. For those of you who have never played a game with Megas at all, like even just casually, the way that the mechanic works is you have your Mega Stone that your Pokemon holds, and when it's your turn to select your moves, you can select Mega Evolution and then select your move. In a lot of cases, Pokemon such as Charizard, Gengar, um, Kangaskhan to a lesser extent, Gardevoir, like these are Pokemon that would Mega Evolve almost immediately, but you would have cases like Manectric and Salamence if you wanted to get like a second Intimidate in or something, or something like that. Or like Metagross is another Pokemon where if you wanted to just fish out the Intimidate with your Clear Body and then Mega Evolve after. In the grand scheme of things, though, the way it was like relatively linear on when you would or wouldn't Mega Evolve, and it would stay for the rest of the game. Even if you switch out, you always stay in that Mega form until you're knocked out. Z Crystals are different. You still have to give an item, but then any Pokemon can use it. And you mentioned like your thought process with looking at offensive Pokemon. How did the Z Crystal fit in? Did you realize like with your core, okay, this is a great Z Crystal Mon? Were there specific Mons that held Z Crystals more often than others? And like I think like one of the things that really got my mind racing, I was rewatching finals of Worlds 2018, and I saw that Paul Ruiz, his Gastrodon has Z Crystal, and that's not a Pokemon we really think of as the offensive piece? Like, could you help like break that idea down on how you would use it and when you would decide to click that button in game?
Yeah, totally. Um, I think that obviously you want like an offensive piece to hold a Z crystal. Obviously, something like Tapu Koko or Tapu Fini, or sorry, not Fini, Tapu Lele, because obviously their terrains are just busted and they pretty much become two of the biggest offensive core pieces in the entire format if they have like that actual pressure to put on. But like it can also fit onto other mons too if you need to patch a matchup. I believe I want to say uh, apart from Mimikyu, Mimikyu also like was pretty frequented to have like Ghost DMZ that or Fairy MZ that you could actually break fighting types with. That obviously hurt Snorlax like Conkeldurr, I believe it was, but it's like you can't OHKO it with Play Rough, so you have to like pretty much nuke it with Fairy MZ if you have to. And that was trending more towards Mimilax, but I think in like single mega evolution area, Gastrodon had I think it was ground DMZ
It
in
was, yes.
Worlds. Gotcha. I think let me take a peek at this really quick.
I was going to say I can actually. One moment.
Oh, yep, I got it. Sweet.
I was going to say I can actually just quickly share this screen. And we're going to be going through a few other teams. And yeah, so right here we do see the Mega Evolution with the Mega Salamence. And then two different Z Crystal options. The Kartana is kind of what we, as you were saying, that super aggressive Pokemon. The Grassium Z probably just nukes everything. Also gives you an accurate grass type attack because Leaf Blade can miss. But then, like, the Gastrodon, it's not really. It's 84 modest. I believe 84 is the bump for Gastrodon. But it's one of those Pokemon where you don't think of it where it's like, oh, Gastrodon, ground type nuke. That was like what really threw me off in like choosing the option. Players from Generation 8 know Gastrodon is more of like Citrus Berry or Lefties, not this Z Crystal.
Yeah, so honestly, just from looking at Paul's team, I don't remember specifically what it was countering, but this team does just have a really hard matchup into like other Incin because Paul's like only physical attacker is or sorry, Paul's 2 of 3 physical attackers are not really effective into Incin. Like having Belly Drum Frustration on Snorlax obviously is pretty good, but you don't have a TR setter. And then like Salamence is only hitting you with like +1 or neutral double edge with Aerialate, and a lot of Incins were going pretty bulky at that time. And then Kartana is just Kartana. You can't one shot it, and it can one shot you.
Yeah.
So it's
you
like
would need like the boosts.
I think yeah, exactly. It's like you would need like a +1 or +2 Sacred Sword to actually take care of that Incin. So I think in this particular instance, if I remember correctly, it was mentioned that Paul really wanted like a more sufficient Incin answer, because obviously, if you see this, you don't really want to bring Fini, but Incin's going to come either way because Incin counters like, or not counters, it hurts like 3 of the 6 Pokemon. So obviously having like a ground type nuke while still retaining that bulk is really, really good.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And one of the other things you bring up, like Snorlax and Incineroar, one of the key changes that occurred in this format is this format is the year that Intimidate Incineroar became legal. This was the start of everything with that Pokemon, and we immediately see it. It was very popular in usage. You'll see it when we go through the sample teams. You'll see it on a lot of teams. But the two items that are not the Mega Stone or the Z Crystals, we see the Figgy Berry and the Agua Berry on Incident Snorlax, respectively. And these are the pinch berries, as we've called them in the past, or some people the berries that activate at 25% in most cases. These berries are very, I think they were probably the most influential part of the entire format. If you want to explain, like, what they did and why they were so influential, and especially why they made Snorlax such a monster in Gen 7.
Yeah, this Snorlax specifically, it's really intriguing to just listen to this from like a holy shit I experienced this perspective. Mimilax was everywhere. And obviously Mimikyu with like Mental Herb or like a redirector, getting TR up was actually really easy back then. So you could like set TR up, let Mimi go down, and you can just belly drum and regain pretty much all of your health with these pinch berries. These pinch berries, I believe it was 33% of your overall, or was it 50?
Yeah, so these pinch
50.
berries are
okay. I know I got that number wrong.
Yeah, these pinch berries are currently a third. However, back in
There we
Gen
go.
7,
Yep.
yeah, they made them 50%. So a Pokemon like Snorlax with its Gluttony ability could use Belly Drum, get all of its HP back, and then use Recycle to keep that health going. It was just a monster, at least from what I've seen watching streams and the bit I've played on Ladder. Snorlax, if it gets set up, is an absolute menace, and you can't knock it out, because the second you get it under 50%, it's getting all of its health back.
Yeah, like, Mimilax was such a menace. Like, you literally recover half of your health with a berry.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. And they had to nerf it, because this was Snorlax's, not obviously premier, but like generational run from like 17 through 18. And it was pretty much only stopped when double restricteds came out, but like it still saw play. Like with Gluttony, you set up TR with like Disguise Mimi, you belly drum, you frustration or return, and you're just hitting everything for like +3, +4. Or, yeah, even if you get Intimidate cycled, you're getting hit with at least a +6 or +5 stab normal type move, which is absolutely maniacal. Like, this thing can tank like a Tapu Koko Life Orb Volt Switch in terrain, unnerfed terrain, set up in TR, and then sweep in TR. And the only way that you can, like, quote unquote stop it is priority, like Fake Out Incin. It's like you either Intimidate cycle or don't let it happen, or have like 3 resists against it. But yeah, it's like Snorlax didn't really have a wide move range, but it didn't need it. Like, you set up +6, you hit a resisted mon like Kartana, you're going to either KO it or just bring it down to the red for like Salamence to finish off. And like Paul's team is a perfect example. Like, maybe you don't need TR for this. Like, this is your TR sweeper. You can just bring it to TR modes and then be fine. And there was even a period in time where like Stack Attacka, obviously, everyone was running a Lonely Natured, I think it was 17, 18 IV in defense, Stack Attacka.
It was something like that, in order to get the attack boost.
Exactly. And it was just like, oh wow, my Stack Attacka is still taking 50% from like a frustration at +6. And it's like, it's quad resisted and it's monstrous. But yeah, it's like, going back to even the Z moves, people would just straight up nuke Snorlax and not focus the Mimi because they were so scared of it. This thing was a monster. And it's like, the whole problem is like Mimi getting up TR so you can sweep later.
Yeah, and I think like one of the other things we talk about how easy it is for Mimikyu to get Trick Room up. This was also unnerfed Mimikyu, where Disguise did not damage. You didn't take any damage when your Disguise broke. So I know an example of a player who did this, maybe not in 18, but I know in 17, was Wolf Glick, where he would run Sash Mimikyu, and you would have to hit the Pokemon 3 times at bare minimum to knock it out, because you would go lose the Disguise first, lose the Sash second, which is one of the reasons why Disguise got nerfed, to stop that combo from happening. Yeah, I think we can just share up some teams, and yeah, we can just go through, I'd say at this point, talk about like what each Mega Evolution did, and maybe pick one of these teams for each Mega to like dive into what made the rest of those Pokemon popular, because like there are going to be a lot of common Pokemon that you see. There's going to be a lot of Tapus, a lot of the pseudo legendaries. Lando's going to be popular, Cresselia is going to be popular, the Ultra Beasts. But like so let's also talk about some Pokemon that we really haven't seen since they've been exited out of Gen 9. So let's start with Charizard. You have two different forms, Mega Charizard X and Y. Out of these Mega Charizard teams, Mega Charizard X teams, which one points out to you?
Obviously, Wolf, but
Yeah.
I'm a little more biased towards like the TR teams. I do think Diego's top 16 Nashville one was really good. I remember seeing the paste for it, and it's like, oh, okay, this is just a Charizard team. But then you see Mega Charizard X. It's like, oh, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. But obviously, with the pace, it's like very much formatted to be a TR functioning team. You have AV Coco, you have like very, very bulky Charizard X, which usually wasn't seen a lot, and then the same with Kartana. But I think even more kind of just weird is the Choice Scarf Modest Lando.
Yeah, this was
I thought that was the shit at the time.
Yeah, so that was, I mean, there's a few interesting things, and this is Diego's top 16 Nashville Open team. For those of you who don't know what an Open is, back pretty much in all of the worlds, I think Tokyo was the first world championship not to have one. After day one, they would host an open tournament for not only anyone who qualified to Worlds and was knocked out of day one, or like knocked out of the day two race, but also anyone who was just there as a spectator could enter this tournament, and you could earn points at this tournament to go towards the following season's Worlds invite. So Diego finishing top 16 at Nashville Open in 2018, those points went towards Diego's 2019 Worlds invite. And yeah, this is a very unique team because a lot of these Pokemon aren't really played the way you would think. Of course, as you said, the very bulky Mega Charizard X with Roost and Toxic. I know it says Blaze here. Mega Charizard X's ability was Tough Claws, which was just another multiplier on top of the Flare Blitz. Mega Charizard X also dropped its flying typing for Dragon as well. But then it's like, okay, you have the Mega Berry substitute card, Z Crystal on Cresselia and Araquanid. Araquanid, it makes a little sense. Cresselia, not so much. And yes, this modest, like mixed attacking Landorus Therian. When I was playing on the ladder, I kept on seeing all my Landos, like the Landos I was playing against, use hit Earth Power. My mind was blown. Can you explain like why they played with this mix set and why they were going modest?
Yeah, so I do think obviously it's a little goofy. You are gonna look at this team and say, okay, since I'm not Mega Charizard Y or just another Mega Pokemon that's not weak to rock or ground, you're gonna say, oh wow, I am really weak to Lando because your Kartana can't really handle it very well. It's gonna be -1. Like, sure, you can get a few Leaf Blades off, but like your Tapu Koko can't hit it. Aside from like Cress and Araquanid, which both underspeed it, you can't really hit it. So I think if I remember this correctly, uh, someone talked about Diego in one of our local servers, and they actually get to talk to him at Nashville. And if I remember correctly, he was like, "Yeah, I just really don't like other Landos." So obviously, HP Ice, it makes sense because
Yeah.
that just Oko. It's modest that Oko's other Landos. Earth Power, obviously for stuff like Mega Gengar and Incin, because Incin, you're not -1 if you're like intimidated. Your special attack's just neutral, you're fine. And then obviously Stone Edge for like Mega Charizard Y, and then just U-turn for Pivot. And it's like this was a cool counter team to like all the popular stuff. I thought it was awesome.
You know, I think like this like special Lando is cool. One of the things that like people don't realize because of how massive Lando Therian's physical attack is. At this point, I believe Lando Therian had the second highest special attack stat for a ground type. There was no Blood Moon or Ursaluna like walking around. So, in the grand scheme of things, if you wanted to play a special attacking ground type, the answer actually was Landorus Therian, because your ability was better than if you were able to play Scarf and have a better ability than Landorus Incarnate.
Yeah, exactly. This was when like Lando T, or sorry, not Lando T, Lando I was just not being used, obviously, because like it wasn't good. It was not good back then. So like this is a rare case where it's like, oh wow, I can actually like counter team a lot of my Pokemon's weaknesses. And going further down the list of just the mega evolutions, you can see that with like a lot of different teams. Um I'm actually looking at obviously James Beck's top 4 Roanoke regionals with Mega Charizard Y and Lele. People might not remember this Pokemon depending on your age watching this video, but Excelgor is a real Pokemon. Excelgor actually got very popular after the Drifblim. Like, I don't want to say pandemic of Drifblim.
So actually,
yeah, Drifblim was also real.
Yeah, so going in, so Drifblim and now Excelgor, those were two Pokemon that like being next to the Tapus, but usually Tapu Lele, as a way to proc their Psychic Seed Unburden. Now, what was the Excelgor doing? I mean, I can kind of see it, but overall, like, what was the Excelgor's main role with this combo with Tapu Lele?
So Lele, I love Scarf Lele. Scarf Lele is like my heart and soul. Scarf Lele's main thing that it really wants to do is outspeed Mega Gengar specifically. You're not really gonna reach like you can try. You're not gonna reach like Mega Aerodactyl levels of speed because you still want bulk, some bulk and damage. But Tapu Lele, the amount of move sets or like item sets that you can actually play around with it, like Psychium Z, Life Orb, Wikiberry, or like Scarf, Choice Specs. There's so much you can do with Lele, but Excelgor really accentuates that. It's like I think it's the fastest Encore user in this entire format. It has obviously a decent HP stat, so final Gambit's going to be nuts. You're just going to KO whatever has a lower HP stat than you if you haven't been hit. You can't be faked out either because it's in psychic terrain unless you change the terrain. And obviously, like dynamic terrain play was huge back then. If your opponent led something like Incineroar Tapu Fini, you could lead Excelgor and like Mimikyu, and then you can like feint that position and go into a place where you're like, oh, cool, I can just swap in Tapu Lele and then final Gambit anything that comes in because I'm faster now. And obviously you can lock stuff into fake out, but like the Excelgor is a really good piece for this team because a lot of it is special attackers. Your Scarf Lele really wants to KO stuff that it would with Life Orb, but can't with Choice Scarf. So obviously that damage drop off is really nice because you have Acid Spray. And same thing with Mega Charizard Y. If you bring out a boosted Excelgor, you can like double protect a scout, encore a fake out, and then just like acid spray, heat wave, anything that you want. Yeah. And I think it's like it's a huge counterpoint to this team where it's like you have the fast mode for the team, but you also have the incredibly bulky and scary portion of this team with again Mimilax. And you can function in TR with this. Like you don't need anything else with Snorlax. You don't even need attack invest. A lot of people in this format just didn't run attack invest Snorlax.
Yeah, because I mean the multipliers +6 is +6. Now, one of the things like with the Mimikyu, this using the Ghostium Z, and its main role actually isn't to boost up the Shadow Claw. It's actually mainly there for the Destiny Bond. Now everyone knows what if you use like the Landers for an example. Groundium Z Earthquake is the funny button nuke. But when you use a Z Crystal on a status move, a lot of weird things happen. So, like, why don't you tell the listeners, what would have happened if you used Z Destiny Bond?
I was talking with Calvin about this the other week. So, If you use Z Destiny Bond, a funny little thing happens where not only are you consuming your Z crystal, you are also redirecting a Destiny Bond to anything. So
Yes.
let's give a good example. Mimikyu's disguise is broken under TR, and there's a Tapu Koko and a Choice Scarf Landorus on the field. Let's say the Tapu Koko is choice specs, so it's gonna underspeed the Lando. So you click the funny button Z Destiny Bond after you were like, I don't want to KO either of these, or you like KO the Lando. So Z Destiny Bond not only has the same effects as Destiny Bond, it redirects every other move into Mimikyu. So
It's
imagine you're sitting there in
yeah.
CTS and you're just like, oh, that sucks because you just redirect a Z move or a really powerful Thunderbolt or like a super effective attack. That's what Z Destiny Bond does. It is pretty much follow me plus Destiny Bond, and it is disgusting.
You don't have the priority of a redirection move. There's no +2. But yeah, like that's the thing where it's like it turns into follow me. Also, if you knock me out, you're dead too. And it's like it's what there's a lot of really funny ones. Mimikyu honestly has a lot of the funny ones. The one that I remember.
Let's snuggle forever.
No, I was going to say Z Splash. Do you not remember what that does?
Oh yeah, I don't remember offhand what that actually does.
Z Splash is +3 attack. So it's like, yeah. So I remember when Sun and Moon first came out. Like I was still a lot of my friends in college who played Pokemon. They were more like singles players. They're like, oh my god, you can use like Z Splash, and you go +3, and they can't knock out your Mimikyu because of disguise. So you go +3, and then you just spam like Shadow Sneak and stuff, or like if they try to switch in, you just play rough them. So yeah, Mimikyu had a lot of really funny like Z Crystal status combos, which is really cool.
It's so gross. It's so gross because it's like it's a good mon. It gets disguise. It gets an entire just signature Z move, and then you give it like all these things that you can use it with, like Focus Sash, berries, Z moves. It's nuts. Like Mimikyu was such a good mon back then. I think it also saw play in Double Restricted, if I'm not mistaken. But it's disgusting. It's so disgusting, and I love that Pokemon. But yeah, this is a really good team to like try out if you really like hyper offense, and also like having a TR check. Um, because like you have everything. You have I've been laddering with this one for a bit, and also like a Mega Gengar team. You pretty much have everything. You have a TR check, you have really fast offense, you have weather, you have an intimidator, and yeah, I would highly recommend James's team. Yeah, totally. I would highly recommend James's team to try out just for fun. Like I think this is one of the best teams to actually try out with.
Yep. And top 4 to regional. I know this was still back in 2018, but at that point, the scene in terms of the talent was pretty solidified and climbing. This isn't like a 2013 sort of thing. Like top 4 in a regional was very, very legit. I mean, it was legit in all formats, but this is when it started being like, okay, it's actually relatively difficult to win these. Now the next Pokemon that you brought up, I know we can actually go to another James Beck team that he used to win a regional, but Mega Gengar, I feel like whenever people bring up 2018, like this is the Mega. And there's a handful of teams that we can talk about. With this,
actually, if we could
do a few. If we could
knock down to, if we could actually go to Alberto Lara's second place LAIC team, I think that is a good rep, as well as Giuseppe's. I think it was the one right above it.
Yeah, so we'll do Giuseppe's, and then we'll also throw in, because of course you can't ignore second place at Worlds. So we're going to be showing 3 different looks at how to play play with Mega Gengar. Now, again, Mega Gengar was a Mega that would, at least from what I've seen and in my experience playing it, it's not like you lost Levitate, so there was really never a reason to stay outside of your mega form, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you didn't really like Cursed Body is a good ability, but it's only like a 30% chance to proc if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's you also just don't really get a benefit of not not mega evolving like turn 1. Like you could scout. I know a lot of players back then didn't evolve turn 1. Some did, some didn't, but it's also like, okay, if you have another mega evolution like the Charizard and Venusaur teams on your team, uh players like that could scout and it would just become like habit, like, oh hey, I'm not going to mega evolve Gengar just to see what you're going to do. But obviously in mirrors with Mega Gengar, it's hard. Like you're basically playing base 130 speed ties. Uh, it's not great, but I know a lot shifted to really bulky modest. Obviously this is like it's a semi bulky one. It's not too bad, but it also provides like it provides not only offense but speed control. Uh, Obviously like with P2 Araquanid, that covers a lot. You have bolt beam coverage. You have really slow water bubble coverage with like liquidation and substitute. Obviously, with Tapu Fini, can't put anything to sleep, especially with like Raichu.
Yeah.
But the Raichu here is a cool call. It's like Alberto saw like, oh hey, I have 2 Pokemon that are really weak to Tapu Koko, and I really only have Lando to take care of it. So having like a util Raichu, it's not bad. It did really good. It got second place, and it did its job if I remember correctly, because Knock actually had a lot of impact on even just Mega Gengar. Like it's gonna do a decent amount of damage because a lot of Gengars at the time were not running a lot of defense investment, but it still did its job. It's like if you had a Koko and a Gengar, like you just redirect and you're fine.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things is this duo of the Araquanid and the Porygon. For those of you who are watching this Araquanid here, it says Araquanid Totem. Totem Pokemon, they were like in-game event Pokemon that you were able to get in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And the Araquanid Totem was actually I forgot the optimal one to use because there was this move called Sky Drop. And what it would do is like Tapu Koko would use every now and again. And it would go and pick up like it was like fly, but it would pick up your opponent's Pokemon if it was under a certain weight, and now both Pokemon can't move. So like you could Sky Drop a Pokemon that didn't weigh a lot and just pretty much lock it out from battling. The Araquanid Totem was big enough where it couldn't get picked up, so you wouldn't have to deal with that.
Yeah, it's I think if I remember correctly, Skydrop did less damage, if I'm not mistaken.
It also, yeah,
because like it still went through, it just did less damage.
Yeah. Well, no, you also didn't. You also it went through, but you weren't picked up. You didn't lose your Pokemon's turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And this duo down here,
yeah, like, it's such a strong duo.
Yeah. This duo down here, I've said it before. If P2 Araquanid was in the base Scarlet Violet decks, the early formats would have been so much better. I think one of the big issues with early Scarlet Violet is that the only way to play Trick Room was to play Psy Spam, and Araquanid being in the game would have just given everyone a Trick Room Pokemon to use that wasn't just like Armarouge, Indeedee, or Hat. Nothing to do with this. I'm just not happy. Like, hoping that when we do get whatever our next base game is, that the base decks has Araquanid, so we can play a real Trick Room mode.
Yep. Araquanid was just busted.
Yeah.
It's like Water Bubble, like adding to your already offensive prowess, plus its stab, and you already have like a really good attack stat. Araquanid was such a good TR sweeper.
Yeah. And the Bug Bite as well was really, really good in this format because there were so many berries that could, just, even if you couldn't eat the berry yourself, just taking away your opponent's 50% berry, stopping getting that from a Snorlax where all of a sudden they can't immediately get their health back after the belly drum. That's big. This next team, This is the Giuseppe team. Giuseppe used this to win Stuttgart Regional in the 2018 season. I think this is a little more standard looking. Like if you were looking for what is your base fire, water, grass, intimidate, balancy team, I'd say it's probably close to looking like this.
Yeah, it's pretty much this. Feeney, Incin, like even Latias. Latias was used a pretty decent amount. It has a lot of util. It's a dragon type with levitate. It resists a lot, like Charizard Y Heat Wave, and like it resists a bunch. It's just a good util Pokemon, and it's next to Mega Gengar, and they check each other pretty well. Like, oh hey, I'm scared of Mega Gardevoir. Like, oh, I have a Mega Gengar. Cool. But yeah, this is pretty standard. Obviously, Scarf Kartana, very, very, very fast Pokemon in CTS. Obviously, people would expect like something like Lando to have the Scarf and Kartana to have the Z move, but having those swaps is obviously pretty good. The Lando being the real wall breaker here it's just good. This is just like a good stuff's team with Mega Gengar, and it works. It's just you have everything you need. You have Tailwind, you have like slow TR answers. That's pretty much it. Like even Calm Mind Feeney, like everything works here.
Yeah. Yeah, this Water Fire Grass Feeney Cart Incin just feels really good. I think what we were saying earlier, like when building, looking for a core, if you're just looking for that balanced core, like that's the trio to lean on. Latias is a Pokemon that we saw in Regulation F early on have some balance play, which I think is interesting. And like when you're looking at those like Latias balance teams from like super early Reg F, they do look, at least in terms of like the different pieces and roles, similar to this. And we also see Latias along with a Fire Water Grass, a different Fire Water Grass, and the what's it called? The Z move Lando here. This is Emilio Forbes' second place Worlds team, and I think one of the most interesting things about this team, especially looking at the Gengar and the Lando, the two Pokemon that you would think would be like the real big damage dealers, is that there isn't any. Not only are there no, it's like there's no like attack boosting nature or EV investment, but there's no like moves to help them boost their damage and setup as well.
Yeah, so a really important thing with Gengar when Emilio got runner up, a lot of Gengars were just going really, really bulky around Worlds. And it got to the point where like, oh wow, Shadow Ball just doesn't OHKO you anymore. And why would you want to play the speed ties when you can just outbulk and outdamage the other mon? Especially if you have Lando. Like Lando having 236 special defense investment with like it's already decently high HP. Like you're gonna want to survive some stuff so you can nuke the other Mega Evolution or whatever is giving you trouble on the other side of the field. It's obviously a little weird anti-synergy having Earthquake with Bulu, but the main point of that is to just use the Z move in terrain. Like, oh hey, your Lando's stuck with like Shadow Tag in Bulu's terrain. That means you can't do anything. So like I'm gonna try and knock you out. But people would think that and be like, oh hey, I have a Z move that's not affected by terrain. Now I can hit you. Even if you protect, I'm gonna hit you for a quarter of super effective damage through protect, or just knock you out. So like you choose. The real damage dealers on this team are obviously like the Lando and the Latias. The Gengar with the Politoed.
It's your perish mode.
It's definitely, yeah, it's your perish mode. You have Shadow Tag, you have a Rain user, everything has Protect on the team. It makes sense. Like that's why Bulu has Protect. Like it's a perish team. You want to use it, and this is how you're going to use it. Even if Scarf gets knocked off, you now have access to Protect.
Yeah, that and it's not like Game Freak gave Bulu a physical fairy type attack clip. No, it doesn't need
Yeah,
that.
why would they do that?
Why would you think of that? Why would you need that?
No. We don't like that guy. Rillaboom's next gen.
Yeah, so I've played
It's
not
so
with
evil.
This, I've played not like I haven't used this team. The team I've used, and we'll just quickly show this. before we move on, and it's a team that this was James Beck's Toronto team. I just saw Triple Fairy. I think Como is a cool Pokemon with a cool Z move. And then Incin, Gengar. One of the things with the Bulu, like with me using it, 252 attack, Jolly Nature with the Scarf, very fast, hits very hard. But every time it was out in the field, I was like, man, wish this was a Rillaboom.
Yeah.
Every time.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad. Like even with the buffed terrain, it's like, I really wish I had a Rillaboom right now.
Yeah, it was I remember when the Tapus came back in Sword and Shield, it was like a meme that was going on like the 4 Tapus. I just saw like Coco, Feeny, Lele, and then like Rillaboom tried putting his hands like, no, I'm not Rillaboom.
Yeah.
Bulu tried putting his hands like, no, not you, the new guy. And it was Tapu Boom Boom.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like it's so sad that Bulu really only saw play around this area. But it still got play, which is good.
So Mega Kangaskhan, which was the Scourge of 2015, a Pokemon so good that they had to nerf the very broken ability it had, didn't see as much top play. Of course, you have the top 8 in Worlds and a top 4 at NAIC, but the results aren't as varied as the other teams that we've seen in the past, or at least the other teams based around Mega Pokemon. Out of these teams here, which one stands out the most to you?
I'm gonna be so real. These are all pretty much these are all pretty much just a version of 2015 Chalk.
Yep.
2015 Chalk was just, oh hey, it's good stuff. Cresselia, Heatran, Kangaskhan, all that stuff. It like obviously with the nerf, people were like, why are we going to use Mega Kangaskhan even if it hits like 2 times in a row? Why would we use it? It's not that great. It's still good, yes, but it's not the threat it used to be. So fixing it on these Chalk teams where everything was just hyper bulk, hyper offensive, just meshed into one big balance team, it took a lot. It honestly took a lot out of people where it's like, oh man, I really wish I had a better Mega Evolution now. But it's like this really only saw play on like improvised Chalk teams. Yeah. So like Lando, Heatran, all that
just
stuff.
To quickly show like what it would be, because I also think one of the other things that happened is Kangaskhan, I believe it lost Power Up Punch.
Yeah, I think it did. If I remember correctly,
yeah, because
I think
I'm seeing on all of these. It lost Power Punch. I think that's the other like
it lost
nerf. It. Power Punch, the way that
Power Punch was such a huge thing
with Parental Bond, especially. So Parental Bond turns every attack into a 2-hit attack, and you get the effect, or at least the chance of an effect, every hit. So for Power Punch, it would be a damaging move that would break sashes and also put you plus. It was a sword stance that would do damage, and that the second attack would do more because it was using the updated attacks, that +1 attack set from the first Power Punch. Was very, very, very disgustingly broken. So for Drain Punch, you would heal twice by using it with the Parental Bond. But yeah, the rest of this team, like, just looking at the teams back here, all of these Kanga teams had a Tapu Fini, a Cresselia, and a Lando. Those are just 3 of the best Pokemon. And then it had a Fire type, whether it was Heatran, which was the classic Chalkmon, or an Incin. And then your last Mon was a fast offensive piece. Gengar, Cart, Coco for some double terrain stuff. But yeah, like these teams definitely felt more like a good stuffs team. More interesting, I think all 3 of these T-Tar teams down here are very interesting.
Oh yeah. T-Tar was an interesting case. It had a lot of threats, like Lando just harassing it. It also was just outclassed by a lot of different stuff. It's like you have Kartana that can just outspeed and KO with Leaf Blade or Sacred Sword. You also have like Feeny. It's like, oh, you're not really doing anything to me with like Crunch, but like it's still oppressive. I guess I can break sashes. Obviously, Intimidate cycling was a huge problem. So like, it exists. Like T-Tar is decent, but it wasn't really at a peak that people had to worry about it. Obviously, like Sand with Heat Rotom and Ferrothorn was a thing. People were like, as soon as people saw Eric Rios win, they're like, "Oh my god, why didn't we think of this before?" And it was just like a okay thing. And it's obviously with the level of a player that Eric is, it's like it worked out for him because this is a really good team. Like it had the tools to win, and he won with it.
Yeah,
but
I think that my low tick here
is
is the real interesting piece. What you were saying with like the Intimidate spam. This was the first real bout of competitive Milotic being properly used. It being super bulky, being able to support your team with Icy Wind, but also being able to, if you accidentally get to +2, +4 with these Intimidates coming in, the Scald is super useful because it also your two main Intimidators are weak to water type attacks.
Exactly. It's like you have a competitive Pokemon too, so if there is a threat of Intimidate, oh cool, I'm at +2. Now I can just fire off Scalds. I have speed control, and even though there's sand on the field, you have two other Pokemon that are immune to sand, and two of them also have recovery problems. It's like, oh wow, I can't KO this Milotic or this Ferrothorn if I don't have the actual util to do so. And I think like Scarflando is a perfect roundabout for that. You take care of like Mega Charizard Y, which has Solar Beam and Heat Wave that bullies both of these Pokemon. And it's like you have a T-Tar. Okay, this makes sense now. You can actually pressure stuff that you would have problems with.
Yeah. But no, this was just a unique thing. Mega Tyranitar, so Tyranitar is one of the few Pokemon where its ability did not change between its regular form and its Mega form, which also makes it unique compared to some of the other Megas. And it was always like, well, why are you like T-Tar's always already so good? Why would you waste your Mega? Well, sometimes like the extra stats work well, and as we were saying earlier, it's like the T-Tar, if with the right pieces around it, this Water, Fire, Grass of Milotic, Ferrothorn, Heat, Rotom, Heat, all of a sudden the T-Tar can just be your Mega Pokemon.
Exactly. This is also prior to Ally Switch being nerfed. So yes. Like obviously, oppressive Rotom Heat with Ally Switch that you can just spam at any point. It's gonna be a problem. And if you can get into the head of an opponent with I can outbulk you and Ally Switch you to death, okay, cool. I won.
Yeah. Going back to a more popular Mega Pokemon, and I think this might be a Mega Pokemon that we'll start to see potentially if we get Megas back, is Mega Gardevoir. Mega Gardevoir gained the ability Pixelate, which, as people know, turns normal type attacks into fairy type attacks, also gives them a boost. So like the Pixelate boosted Hyper Voices were a massive win for it. You also had your insanely high special attack stat. You had just your regular good psychic coverage, Trick Room, Imprison. This felt like a very, very strong Pokemon. And we have a few really good results. We have 2 first places. Of course, we have James Evans winning his senior world championship with the Pokemon. There's a lot of different options to go with. So where do you want to go? I think I have a couple I think we could go with. But what are you thinking?
Honestly, I did want to make a little comment about Mega Gardevoir. As good as it was mostly just ran on good stuffs. It was a very good stuffs Pokemon with Pixelate, huge special attack stat at 165, but it's not too fast. It's threatened by Mega Gengar. So obviously you want the tools around your own Pokemon to actually take care of it. So having stuff like Scarflando, T-Tar Kartana, a Trick Room mode, that was pretty much what Gardevoir was centralized around. And I think it was honestly one of the most centralized good stuffs Pokemon and I want to lump Mega Manectric in there too because they both have different properties, but they function kind of the same. Um, with Mega Gardevoir though, you want to make sure Gardevoir can just live as long as possible. You want it to just spam Hyper Voice, and that was the entire point because the only thing that can resist it is like Stacka Taka or something with Wide Guard or something that can actually resist a Fairy type, which wasn't too common because even with Kartana on the field, people started had like running very bulky Kartanas with like high special defense stats, like 228, 244 invest, where they're like, okay, I get 3-hit KO'd by like Pixelate Hyper Voice. And people were calcing for stuff and lumping it together with like Mega Gengar because it was such a problem. And it's like 165 is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely monstrous special attack stat, and it's disgusting. And I think they had to balance it to just keep it low. So like I think that it's best played on balance.
Okay. And like yeah, you are seeing this just going through these teams. Like most of them have a Tapu, if not multiple Tapus. Or actually, nope. Yep, they have a Tapu. They have at least one Intimidator. A lot of times, two Intimidators. And then you'll have like a secondary mode. Most of the time, it looks like some sort of Trick Room mode with a Pokemon like Araquanid. I think if we're going to go look at any of these, I'd say the main one to look at is James Evans, who did win a world championship with this team. And as you were saying, it's like with this, it's just your good stuff. So you have your double Intimidate. Your Gardevoir is both your Trick Room setter and can play in Trick Room by only being 52 speed and modest. You have the Watery MZ, Araquanid, plus P2, which we've seen in the past. The Z move on the Tapu Koko, and of course an Incineroar. Also another showcase of this special anti-meta Scarf Lando, which apparently had a very, very good time in Nashville.
Yeah. This Lando set was not just like centralized to one regional, but people were like, man, I really don't like Lando mirrors. So like just to make sure, let's put HP Ice and make it special.
Yeah.
And like even with modest, you're still gonna do good damage. You're gonna Oko Mega Charizard Y. You're not affected by Intimidate. And like you have everything you need on this team. You're balanced. You don't need a lot of invest on Gardevoir. You can bulk it out, make sure it hyper voices a ton. You have 2 Intimidators. You have an anti-sleep measure, which is actually really important. Only actually two of the 4 terrains actually pressure sleep. So obviously with like Psychic and Grass, you can still get put to sleep in those, but in stuff like Electric Terrain or Misty Terrain, you can't get put to sleep in those, and that's actually really important for this team. If a team has like something like Amoonguss and Snorlax, it's dangerous because oh wow, I don't want to get put to sleep and then Snorlax just sets up on me. So obviously having something like Z-Move Coco is just really important.
Yeah.
And like having like more TR aspects to this, it also helps.
Yeah, with what you were saying, this is Adrian Siegler's Portland team that he used to win Portland regionals, and you see that Amoonguss, the Amoonguss Snorlax as like your Trick Room mode, again being able to play into that speed control that Gardevoir is able to give you, while also still having like your fast mode. Like you don't need to bring the Amoonguss and the Coco at the same time. Like those Pokemon, and of course it's like what we've been seeing, especially recently at this point in Regulation I as we're recording, like Amoonguss next to Scarf Miraidon is pretty big. Because like sure, you can't put it to sleep, but being a super bulky grass type that is like neutral into the poison type attacks, resists the steel type attacks, is neutral into the ground type attacks, I could just redirect while your Z move Coco puts out a ton of damage and then Volt switches out of there. Like it's still it's anti synergy to an extent, but the two mons do work better than you would think. Also, you can just put the Lando to sleep because Lando's like flying. It's not gonna it can't Terra into Terra water and all of a sudden gain its immunity to sleep via the terrain. Like, you're always able to make those decisions.
Yeah, and there were a lot of flying types in this format, and also terrains that allowed for sleep. Obviously, if you get that Trick Room mode up and there's a Tapu Lele on the field, oh, cool, I can just put you to sleep and then just belly drum. Cool, okay, that works. But yeah, it's like there are so many flying types that you just don't really have to worry about like one terrain or the other. It's like, yeah, you can do that if you want to, like, so you still have redirection pressure with Coco. But if your opponent has like two flying types, oh, cool, I can just like redirect with Amoonguss once I get my TR up. Or I can just do TR and Hyper Voice and then still have Amoonguss to sack for a Rage Powder.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's still really, really impressive. And it still works, obviously, because you have that spore pressure on there, and you have just this bulky redirector that can tank anything pretty much.
Yeah, going to the Manectric teams now, a lot of these, we have 3 top 8s, 2 of them from the same regional. And again, a lot of the mons look very similar. You're going with Manectric, Feeny, Snorlax, Incin, insert Trick Room Setter here, and then insert another Pokemon. Looking at both Lewis Millix and Z's team, you had like your Trick Room Setter. So both teams had the Celesteela, and then you either played with Gardevoir, Gothitelle, or P2. Now, we do have to note that Goth did not have Fake Out at this point. It didn't get Fake Out until Generation 8. However, the Shadow Tag was still really, really useful. Out of these 3, which one do you think we should like be showing in terms of the moves?
I think Z's team is a really good representation of what we should have. Z's team, again, Manectric was just put on like Good Stuff's team. Celesteela, obviously, it went a little bit down in usage, obviously because of how oppressive the Megas were in 2018. But obviously, Misty Seed, Leech Seed with just crazy bulk. It's a hard wall to break, so you're not really going to do anything to it. Obviously, bulky Mega Manectric, you have Intimidate when you Mega Evolve, and then you can just Volt Switch out. And it's a scary mon because you have 2 Intimidators, you have 3 insanely bulky Trick Room users, and you have a Tapu Fini, and you have a Rain Dance Mega Manectric. So, like, you have your guaranteed damage, but you also have something you can outbulk your opponent with. So, like, Mega Gengar, oh, that's not a problem. I have a Snorlax and a P2, one of which has Foul Play, the other has High Horsepower. And Mega Manectric, in the same vein, but different functionality that Gardevoir did, they were put on Good Stuff's team, but they were still very good Pokemon. Like Manectric, one of the highest speeds, obviously slower than Mega Gengar, but still very, very fast. It's a fast Volt Switcher. You can get anything out. Like, if you need Incin and your opponent doesn't have like a Fake Out user, you can just lead P2 Mega Manectric, get an Intimidate off, Volt Switch out, Intimidate again on Incin. Cool, now I have TR up, I have Snorlax in the back, and then I can just sweep from here.
Now, the Celesteela mode, like, that is a Pokemon that we saw bits and pieces of during the pandemic in Sword and Shield, but for those people who like never really got to experience how it played out in the Sun and Moon era, this specifically is a Misty Seed variant, which I believe Misty Seed is a special defense boost.
Yeah, that's special defense.
Yeah. Okay. How does this
Celesteela is ugh. So imagine Dozo mirrors, except nothing died. It's essentially a leech, like, unless you ran Flamethrower, and even in that case, nothing KO. This specifically happened in like 17. Actually, that's actually a bad comparison. Imagine Lefties and Leech Seed Cali Ice right now in the Reg I standings. That is how Celesteela played. It was usually Lefties with Leech Seed. This thing would not KO. It would not get KO'd because you'd at least have an Intimidator on the field. You would still do damage to your opponent, but it's so minuscule that they just heal it back. And it's like, oh, nothing's going to happen, so I'm going to play for timer on this Leech Seed leftover Celesteela set. And that's what happened with so many games in 2017. It was obnoxious. But it's like, that was how Celesteela played. Unless you had a counter for it, like, you're going to lose to it. And that counter is usually like a very, I don't want to say fast fire type, but like Mega Charizard Y is why a lot of Celesteela started falling off. Because Heat Wave just bullies it. And it's like, Kartana, it didn't happen because you had other pieces around it to go for that. But obviously with this, Kartana can actually function because you have a Mega Manectric, a Feeny, and an Avianson that can actually hurt the Megazard Y.
Yeah, and this even like just turning off the rain would be huge for it. I think this is like another really cool team. Again, very balanced, very good stuffs. And yeah, we can move on. We have, I think, 2 more main ones. We already talked about one version, the Paul Ruiz team for Mega Salamence. Are there any other Mega Salamence teams that you think really are like worth diving into, or is this like the definitive team?
There's a lot of different ways that you can actually run Mega Ments. Like, obviously with the bottom team, you can run like Rain, but this was also the gen that Aerialate was nerfed.
Yes.
Aerialate obviously doing a ton of work on some Big Six comps back in 2016, but they decided, oh, we don't actually like Mega Salamence, so we're gonna nerf Aerialate and screw you specifically.
They didn't screw it enough at One World.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they didn't get there, but like Mega Ments is just good. You can partner it with like a really decent amount of Pokemon, and it'll still do its job. Like, you can make it more of a balanced version, like Jake Smith's team, but you can also pair it with like Rain, and it'll work. It's just Mega Ments. Like, you can just be oppressive with it, and it'll work.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting
obviously
things...
Mudsdale, the crazy pick here.
Yes. So I think that's just like looking for a ground type that is able to also get really bulky. Stamina is an ability where every single time a Pokemon is hit, its defense stat goes up 1. How do you counteract a +6 Snorlax? Well, get your horse to +6 defense, and balances everything out. But yeah, the rest is really just, this is Fire, Water, Grass balance with a Trick Room Setter, your Mega Pokemon in Salamence, which does unbelievable amounts of damage. Another Pokemon in this era that was able to actually play as a mixed attacker. That's how good even the nerfed Aerialate ability was, where you were able to either hit with the Hyper Voice for spread damage or the Double Edge for a single target nuke. And yeah, the Mudsdale's just an interesting choice instead of using, like, again, the Snorlax that we're used to seeing, or the Araquanid with the Porygon 2. This is definitely the more interesting team, it being a double Mega Hard Rain team.
Yes. So, back in Gen 7, I was a huge Rain user with Politoed and Ludicolo. Sometimes even Golduck, but obviously you have a ton of potential with Mega Swampert, who has Swift Swim. Swampert's it's obviously a bit of a weird case. You can like bulk out some opponents, but in the threat of like Kartana, no, you can't. So obviously having like a Waterium Z Ludicolo in Rain, it's gonna KO a lot, and you still have like support Politoed, Thunder Tapu Koko. With its double Z move, obviously, like, you don't need another item because Scizor has Life Orb, and Ludicolo and Tapu Koko both like that item. You can pretty much just slap a Z Crystal and say, okay, I'm oppressive now. But yeah, it's like you can run Ments in so many different ways that there's not really a concrete way to use it. Just don't put it on like TR teams. Like, it's way too fast. But obviously, if you have like a balanced version of it, that's fine.
Yeah. No, it's like, I think it's just really interesting, and also just like seeing like another Mega Pokemon in the Mega Swampert. Mega Swampert gets Swift Swim, not Damp. Damp is its really bad hidden ability. I think like they They gave Blaziken speed boost. They gave Sceptile whatever. I can't remember what it was, but it was better than Damp. Like, they couldn't have given it...
It was
like,
Unburden.
Oh, they gave
Everything's
it Unburden?
fast.
Yeah, and they were like, what is Mega Swampert? Wet. That is what you are at all times.
Yeah.
Just
wet.
Just mildly moist. Nothing's getting off, nothing's going off. And then, then it's like, okay, here's Swift Swim at least, where you're wet, but at least you go zoomies.
Yeah, they did give it that.
Yeah.
That's where we go with this.
Yeah, so I think, like, again, like, it's just, I think it would just be matchup dependent on when you would want to go and click the buttons. And we see Frustration again. We've seen a lot of Return and Frustration. Those are two moves that are no longer in the game. I believe Gen 7 was the last game with either of those attacks. So for those of you who don't know how those attacks work, they were normal type attacks. Frustration did more damage the less your Pokemon liked you, the happiness value. And Return, if your max happiness, did more. It was base 102 damage at its peak, like, happiness or peak unhappiness, which made it very, very, very powerful, along with it also being 100 accuracy. Now, I can't remember why people would run Frustration over Return. Do you?
Honestly, I think it's just a preference thing. Yeah, it's literally just preference. They both essentially do the same thing. One is not more viable over the other, from what I remember. Could probably ask June, and I'd probably be wrong, but yeah,
June wasn't playing
it's
back
just preference,
then.
really. No, I know, but she's probably going to correct me at some point, so I'll give her that one.
Wait for
but
Wednesday.
Yeah, it's just a preference thing.
Up. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd say
this is my favorite one.
I
have spiels for this one.
The last one is Mega Metagross, and I'll just say this: there's a few like other different megas that like we didn't cover down here. Before we go to, like, I'd say like any of these, like the Steel
Mega Scizor is like okay. It's not bad, but it's
with
not
Linoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out Alberto Lara.
It's Alberto. It's there's no need to explain that.
Okay. Yeah, but so
if I could go on a spiel about Mega Metagross and how absolutely maniacal this thing was.
Okay, so awesome. First, tell me the teams and we'll just hop through it, or do you just want to go off the top right now?
I'll just go off the top.
Do it.
So,
floor's yours.
Metagross gets the ability Clear Body. And obviously, this mod is no pushover. This was like Gen 3 OU BS. Like, this was Metagross is a good Pokemon. On paper and in-game. You pair that with its Mega Evolution, which gets Tough Claws, and it gains speed. I believe it's 110. I might need a fact check on that. But you also get the ability Tough Claws. Tough Claws is an ability where your attack stat is raised, your physical attack stat. And it's absolutely absurd that it gains speed, because now you can pair it with like Tailwind users and specifically Scarf Tapu Lele. This just idea and comp came to me in a dream in high school, where I was like, wow, Scarf Tapu Lele is awesome. I love it. And then I didn't get to use it that much because Mega Metagross obviously wasn't like playable in 17. I was like, I wonder if I'll ever need it. So I remember writing it down in a notebook in 2017 and looking back at my notes from the semester previous. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot. So people started forming teams with Metagross and Lele. And obviously, that has a lot of partners, because it's like, okay, I have two really strong psychic types. I need to figure out how to make them synergistic with like the rest of the team. And what a lot of people started doing is Zapdos and Excelgor. Obviously with Excelgor, we went over it earlier, but with Zapdos, really bulky electric type Mon, gets Tailwind, can use Psychic Seed, and then started pairing it with other stuff like a Moongus and Gastrodon and Landorus. And it's like the team has so many different directions you can go into. It's nuts. The only downside to Mega Metagross is that it did not get a 100% accurate, actually strong Psychic type physical stab move.
Only
The
Zen Headbutt.
best it had was Zen Headbutt. No Psychic Fangs. That was Gen 8, I believe. But yeah, like that's my tangent. My personal preference and bias, to anyone watching, go to what you like first, but then go to Mega Gengar and then Mega Metagross. Probably Metagross first because that's biased. But yeah, this Pokemon is disgusting.
So we have we have a lot of insane finishes. I think we should start because one of the other things you brought up was Driftbloom. This is Jeremy Rodriguez's 2018 NAIC winning team. And then, again, you see the powerful Tapu Lele with its Life Orb, the Mega Metagross, very, very speedy. You are right, it is base 110. One of the other things that we didn't mention that was a new aspect of Generation 7 is that didn't really take into effect until 2018. This is the first format ever with an aspect of dynamic speed control. What we're very used to starting in Sword and Shield is that, like, yeah, when the Tailwind goes up, everything's fast from that point forward. But in Gen 7, that's not how it worked. You had to wait till the next turn. However, if you Mega Evolved and the speed stat changed, in Gen 7 you would be based on the Mega Evolved speed stat. So, Mega Metagross in Gen 6, it would Mega Evolve, be the base 70 of Metagross, and then be base 110. In Sword and Sun and Moon and on, you press that Mega button, no, you're just base 110. And that's, like, I think a really, really cool part of Mega Metagross. God, I hope this Pokemon doesn't come back now because I will not be able to say it.
It's a mouthful, man. Trust me. I totally feel you.
Yeah, but like,
no,
that's,
yeah, you're completely right.
Like that's like one of the reasons why I think it became like so good. Is because it was able to. It was probably the best Pokemon taking advantage of this new change. Now, we talked about what the Selgor did with the Tapu Lele. What was Driftbloom's main role? We see the Tailwind. We see like the Will-O-Wisp, Rain Dance, but you also see it that it's modest. Like, what was it really picking up or trying to get with that Shadow Ball? Was it just the Gengar, or were there other things?
If I remember correctly, I think it might have been the really fast no bulk Gengars. I could be wrong. I actually don't know why that spread is modest. I guess just for damage, which makes sense because you're already fast enough. You don't want to go Timid Psychic Seed. You already double your speed. Nothing else is outspeeding you. Yeah, I can see modest. Like, modest makes sense. You have enough bulk to just outbulk everything else. So, like, you have Rain Dance, you have Willow, obviously Tailwind. Like, you're gonna do things regardless. I don't think this definitely wasn't more so to pick stuff up. It was just, set Tailwind and now I can fire off attacks or Willow. And whatever I pick up, I pick up. But obviously, this is a team where you don't want stuff like Bullet Punch on Mega Metagross because, like, Psychic Terrain, or like really any other priority move. But obviously, with that Life Orb Tapu Lele, that Pokemon's going to do a lot of damage. That is unnerved terrain with modest Life Orb, and it is Stab. That is going to pick stuff up.
Yeah, seeing that and the Lando just straight up 252 damage boosting nature. Like,
it just works. It just works. There's stats, and you can put the slider all the way up, and it works.
Yeah, no, these are really.
It's
cool
like
teams.
this is a beautiful team.
And then another one, Max Waterman, using again this Rain duo with Pelipper instead of the Politoed. I feel like this is the first sign of things to come, with Pelipper being the dominant rain setter that we're very used to in Generation 9. But yeah, instead of having the bulk and utility of Politoed, just again doing funny 252 sliders, and just spamming damage between the Pelipper and the Water EMZ Ludicolo. One of the Pokemon that, when this format was announced in our server, that you were like super excited to talk about, or at least use again, was Zapdos. And we finally see it here on this team with Mega Metagross. Get it one day. Why Zapdos as this very bulky Tailwind setter instead of some of the other Tailwind setters that we've seen in the past?
So, Zapdos is just inherently good. Like, it's always been a really good VGC mon. It has great stab with both like Hurricane and Thunderbolt. It's a very fast Pokemon too, and if you obviously like put an item on it like Psychic Seed where it raises its special defense, it's gonna get bulkier. So like you can just bulk Zapdos out and make it this like premier Tailwind setter where we saw with like AFK plus 1, 2, 3 cores with Zapdos, and just make it like this bulky mon where it's like, oh hey, I threaten stuff like Feeny. I don't go down to like 2 T-bolts from like Coco or like Sash Coco. Obviously making it really bulky against Gengar so you can set up Tailwind. A good tech on this is also Roar. Obviously Roar is negative priority, but you're still faster than the TR setter. It's like, oh okay, I can roar you out before you TR, which is obviously a huge problem for this team because this team doesn't really have any Trickromancers. Honestly, I don't like Pelly on this team. I think that Politoed could have done way better. You have a really bulky, just pure water type. You don't go down to anything, but like I guess I see the point with Focus Sash. Like, it's all right. Like Pelly is Pelly. It's a good mon. You want to threaten the grass types. I get it. That makes sense. You can't really give Politoed a Focus Sash, I guess, because it prefers like Wikiberry or anything else. So like it makes sense. But obviously Zapdos, going back to it, it's just a good Pokemon. Like you have good stab, you have good stats. It's a legendary Pokemon, but obviously not a restricted. You can just use it in this format, and it flourishes because you're getting hit for like neutral on a lot of Mega Pokemon's like strongest attacks, like Shadow Ball, Sludge Bomb, Heat Wave, and you're just tanking them because you have Psychic Seed and you're really bulky. But yeah, it's like Zapdos was a really, really good mon up until the restricted formats of Sun and Moon because you can just bulk out and you can take advantage of those terrains. You can set Tailwind, you have Roost, and you can become like unkillable. And you're like obviously you're threatening Celesteela too. Like this team really wanted something as like a flying type check. Okay, you have it. You have a Zapdos now. And that really same with like water types like Feeny, besides like the energy ball that you have on Ludicolo. But it still presents the same point where it's like, okay, I can actually threaten a lot of stuff with Zapdos while also giving it like and the entire team this really bulky presence with Tailwind and Roost and also a Trickromancer.
So that was like the last of, again, the main mega evolutions that we're talking about. A lot of this was just going through the teams, going through how they were built, what they're supposed to be doing. And again, a lot of this stuff, these sample teams, this link with sample teams should be linked in the show notes as well. And before we wrap everything up, I think one of the things that I want to ask you, Tony, is the Scarlet and Violet era of the game is specifically for VGC. It is slowly coming to a close. That there is a good chance that this World Championships coming up in August is the last World Championships we're playing with this game. And again, Mega Pokemon are being pushed, of course, with CA coming out, Mega's returning to the TCG, Mega Pokemon being shown, along with Terrestrialization in the Pokemon Champions trailer that we saw back in February. What lessons do you think people could learn in preparing for playing in a format potentially with Mega Pokemon again, or maybe like without having terrestrialization? What are different things that you think people can learn from like playing this format?
I think two really important things that you can like digest as a player is not only old like regionals, internationals, and worlds, but also like team reports. Obviously, team reports are very hyper specific on teams, but when watching a team report about something that contains like Z moves, Mega Pokemon, and something completely different, like something you're familiar with, like the Rain archetype, you understand that player's way of not only playing the game, but building the team that they succeeded with. So, for example, I think James Beck had a team report on one of his teams. I think it was Roanoke. Um, you can just watch his process on how he built the team, how he plays the team, and then you can just go from there. It's like if you have a good understanding of like how to build around that team, then you're like, oh hey, I really want to use this Pokemon, and I think it'll be fun.